μέρος της Γενικής μας Συνέλευσης που αφορά την επανεκκίνηση, σημαντική επανεκκίνηση και τις πρωτοβουλίες που παίρνουν οι Έλληνες και οι Ευρωπαίοι τουριστικοί πράκτορες. Θα ήθελα να ευχαριστήσω για την παρουσία του τον Υπουργό Τουρισμού κ. Βασίλη Κικίλια, την πρώην Γενική Γραμματέα Τουριστικής Πολιτικής του Υπουργείου Τουρισμού και υποψήφια στις Κυκλάδες κ. Βίκη Λοΐζου. Θα ήθελα να ευχαριστήσω επίσης τη Γενική Διευθύντρια Λιανικής Τραπεζικής της Εθνικής Τράπεζας κυρίας Χριστίνα Θεοφιλίδη και έναν πάρα πολύ σημαντικό εταίρο σε όλες μας τις προσπάθειες, τον κύριο Ευάγγελο Βλάχο, Διευθύνοντα Σύμβουλο της Εταιρείας Ανάπτυξης και Τουριστικής Προβολής του Δήμου της Αθήνας. Ευχαριστώ. Δεν θα ήταν απερισκεψία εκ μέρους μου να παραλείψω ότι στα 3 πάνελες που θα ακολουθήσουν μετά τους σύντομους χαιρετισμούς των επισήμων μας θα αναφερθούμε θα είναι στα αγγλικά, θα αναφερθούμε για τις τουριστικές τάσεις για σήμερα και για αύριο. Θα αναφερθούμε για την δημιουργία του Ταμείου Εγκαιοδοσίας για τους οργανωτές ταξιδίου. Καλωσορίζω και τον πρόεδρο του ΣΕΔ, ευχαριστώ για την παρουσία σας. Για τους οργανωτές ταξιδίου του Ταμείου Εγκαιοδοσίας και θα κλείσουμε με το πάνελ για τη βιωσιμότητα στον τουρισμό και για τον υπεύθυνο τουρισμό. Πριν ξεκινήσουμε αυτό, θα παρακαλούσα τον Υπουργό μας κύριο Βασίλη Κικίλια για ένα σύντομο χαιρετισμό.
Okay, I will have to raise the microphones just a little bit. And of course in English, so everybody can understand. Κύριε Πρόεδρε, ευχαριστώ πολύ για την πρόσκληση. Mr. President, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very, very happy to be here with all you, Greeks and Europeans. As far as I'm concerned, we're the same, one family. I'm glad the President of SETE, Mr. Yannis Retsos, is here, a dear friend and obvious example that the private sector, together with the public sector, and that goes for you also, can work strongly together and have multiple and climaxed increased results. And of course, Mrs. Viki Loizou, για αυτούς οι οποίοι δεν το ξέρετε γιατί το ανακοίνωσε τώρα ο Πρόεδρος. Νομίζω ότι είναι από τα εξαιρετικά στελέχη του τουρισμού που αξίζει να τη στηρίξουμε στο νέο εγχείρημα το οποίο κάνει ως υποψήφια στο νομό Κυκλάδων. Now, let's talk about HATA. Strong partnership of HATA with the Ministry of Tourism. It couldn't have happened otherwise. But before that, let me just take you for 30 seconds in my previous job, which was Minister of Health. So I want to thank you very, very much for the strong cooperation of these 2 years, 2 difficult years of the pandemic. What we issued, like scientists, doctors, and special committee of public health, in an unprecedented global crisis and of COVID. And the effort we did together with the private sector and SETE to be able to set rules and open prior to vaccination, as you very well remember. That we opened up, we were the only ones to open up in the Mediterranean Sea in 2020 with the multiple testing and organization, with health protocols, with doctors in the hotels and condos, of course with a big question mark of what would have happened. And everything went well. And the way us, the Greeks and the Greek administration dealt with the pandemic, I think rebranded the country abroad as a safe destination, as a serious administration, and as, once again, as a strong partnership between the private and public sector of mutual benefit. So I'm happy to be able to address you this year as Minister of Tourism. Our strategy, together with our friends in the public sector, was clear. We want to lengthen the period, strengthen our product. We offer a unique touristic experience. We couldn't have done it without you, working with you. And it was a big fight to be able to reopen winter destinations, talk about Greek end and how sustainable it is to strengthen Athens and Thessaloniki and 12-month hotels, but also try to make your job easier. declining protocols and bureaucracy in order to be able to facilitate your job and be able to bring more people to Greece. Why would somebody come to Greece? The actual question is, if somebody comes to Greece, talk with him or her, because he's always coming back. So this is a unique experience. It doesn't matter if it's in an island, in the mainland, up in northern Greece, in Thessaloniki and Central Macedonia, or in Peloponnesos and Monevassia and Mani and Yithio. It doesn't matter if it's in Crete or Kerkyra or Kos or Rhodos or Mykonos or downtown Athens, where actually we are. It's something that people cherish. It's a Greek word called philoxenia. You cannot translate it in a foreign language. It's the actual heart and soul of the Greeks wanting to treat foreigners, strangers, travelers, tourists in the best possible way. This is an unbelievable link between the people that you bring into my country and our country and the professionals which you are, and also the Greeks are, and hoteliers are, and people that work in our industry are, that can create together with the unbelievable, unique scenery that we have to offer, this experience that keeps bringing people back again and again. What are the prospects for 2022? Well, nobody could ever imagine that we would have to face the pandemic still in 2022, but we will also have a war at the heart of Europe. Despite that, what we see out of the numbers and the figures and the trends and the bookings and the slots and the airline carriers and what they give us and the Bank of Greece and Insete of Sete that gives us the Dutch is a strong sign for tourism this year. Let me not be misunderstood. Will I give numbers today? No. Is that the common question of reporters and the media here in Greece and abroad? Yes. But what we will do about what has happened in 2022, we'll do it together at the end of the year and see how it went. So it's a constant fight, day in, day out, week in, week out, to be able to tackle whatever global issue of uncertainty we have to deal and bring the people here, because let's not misunderstand it. After having locked the whole planet for 2.5 years, everybody wants to travel. Everybody wants to have a unique experience and spend money and be able to be with their loved ones, with their family, with their friends, and spend some time in the best possible place in the world. Are there other places to go? Of course there are. Beautiful places, yes. Like Greece? No. So we're happy to have you here. Thank you very, very much for giving me the opportunity to address to you. I think that what we've seen is very strong markets to actually invest in Greece. The actual investments in infrastructures and in upgrading, upscaling hotels from 3-star to 4-star, 4-star to 5-star, 5-star to 6-star in Greece is amazing this year and these last years. Multinational global partners are here investing together with local partners. What I've seen is almost unique, 500,000 travelers from the US direct to Eleftherios Venizelos, from Atlanta, Chicago, Boston, Newark, JFK, DC, the 3 American airliners and the Emirates, American, United and Delta, plus all the transit flights. I've seen Air France and Transavia strong signal to Greece, more destinations, Skiathos, Lefkada, all over our country. I've seen the Germans strong signal for Greece also, Condor flying to Athens after 25 years. I've announced it yesterday with their CEO and lots of other destinations. TUI talking about doubling the number of travelers from 1.5 million last year to 3 million this year. Dare Touristique opening offices in the Scandinavian countries, in France also, strong signal from the German market. Great Britain, Jet2, new destinations, also Athens, EasyJet, the same thing, British Airways, a heavy traveler doing mostly business, has a part for us in leisure and travel and fun, and Greekend also, and the numbers are great. Our friends of the Israelis, they invest here in Athens, in Loutraki, Lavrio, northern Greece, and everywhere, buying hotels, building hotels. They're bringing the people, very, very strong sign from them, even now during Easter, all over the place. Mainland, Athens, Thessaloniki, or the islands. Romania, the number one driving destination. They're the number one Europeans in driving tourism. First location, Greece. No protocols, just their passport, no digital passports, no COVID tests, no PCR, no rapid, vaccinated or not. That was the decision of the Greek hygiene committee, and we're glad to host them from our northern borders together with Serbians. I'm going there next week. Israel was 1 month ago, America via Zoom, Germany will follow, Poland also. I think that there's a good reason for everybody to travel to Greece this year. Do we have issues to tackle? Of course. Like always. This is business, and we are professionals, and we must try to the best of our abilities to achieve bigger goals as it goes. It's not just the number, it's the quality. It's people that work for our industry and the way they treat foreigners and travelers. It's the way that they understand what is happening here, and they go back home, they talk about it to their friends, their family, to their loved ones, to their colleagues, together with digital nomads, together with other surprises that we will host, especially in Athens and in other cities this winter. We seek to lengthen the period, September, October, November, December, from hoteliers, special offers, special prizes for these months. I was happy to see, for example, Condor fly in Crete and Rhodos last November and December. I'm happy that they understood they should also fly to Athens in that period. So for us, summer is fine, it's great, but the weather is perfect for us here in September, October, and November equally. Also March, April, and May. For example, there's the Rally Acropolis, motor car rally coming up. I think it's going to be October or November in Theotida. We're seeking 4,000 beds to host it. It's impossible. We're going to host it there and use other facilities too. You see the cycling events. They're here, high quality in Crete, from Crete going up to Epirus. It was unbelievable. The marathon of Athens, special events that I will not disclose today, and we'll hold a press conference for the next October and November. So I think you should organize your offices and your business to redirecting people, not just through the summer months to Greece and Athens, but throughout the year. I see a huge change in investing in Greece. I see local partners and international big firms coming here to invest, and I'm insisting on that, because, for example, Athens is not just Athens, it's the Attica region. That's 50% of the GDP of the country. That's 5 million inhabitants, and you see what's happening in Asteras, see what's happening in Asteria, in Hellenico. I think sooner or later the Riviera is going to be unbelievable. It's only 15 minutes from the center of Athens, so think of that as a whole and the potential that there is. Now, from next year, we're going to talk about sustainable tourism, low carbon emission tourism, about what hoteliers are doing for that. They're doing a lot of stuff. What we're doing concerning branded destinations, what the country is going to do, and what they're going to offer to the private sector in order of investing here. But still, for 2022, safety and security, safety in terms of health and safety in general, is number one priority for people who travel. I think we all understand that and we agree on that. We definitely offer that. We're open, we're happy to host everybody. We're glad we have you here. I'm happy for the Greek enterprises and people that are part of HATA Europe are organizing this, and now we're here in Athens talking about it. Can that happen without the professionals of the sector? No, of course not. No, by all means. Before I became a politician and an orthopedic surgeon, which I am, I was a professional basketball player here in Greece as a team sport. So I truly, honestly believe that it's more than obvious that everybody together, the private sector, the public sector, strong partners of the sector can do a much, much better job than each one on its own. So I am, and we are very, very happy to be able to work with you. It's the Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis' mandate that this will happen to the most important part of income of the Greek economy. We offer directly or indirectly the touristic sector to 25% of the GDP of the country, 1 out of 4 euro to the Greek economy. That's how much you mean to us, and what we think of you and how we think that we should push on forward. Once again, thank you very, very much. I'm very, very sorry that I cannot be here for all these, which I think is going to be very, very interesting. And the results, I would like to see them and have them. And once again, get ready for 2023, because it's going to be busy in Greece. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'm leaving the presentation of our distinguished guests at the end. That will be very important to listen. And after that, Mrs. Maria Krivou, the senior editor of Fortune Greece, will take the floor to continue. But before that, if I have to welcome as well, it's a pleasure that we have here the President Secretary General of Tourism Policy, Mrs. Olivia Anastasiopoulou. I will honor us if we'll make a short presentation. Thank you.
The privilege of talking is removing the mask. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very honored to be here. Dear representatives of the travel and tourism industry, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I participate in the Real-Light Tourism, a Hellenic and European travel agents initiative. And I would like to thank for the invitation both Mr. Kelaididis and Mr. Tsilidis. Greece, as you know, shares the global concerns on the current universal economic situation about the decline in economic growth, in particular due to the consequences of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, which is adding further pressure to an already challenging economic environment, undermining consumer confidence and raising investment uncertainty. However, there are recent facts that underline our optimism. Greece's tourism industry, as you know, is indicating positive signs for 2022. Since Greece's airports recorded a surge in arrivals in the first quarter, welcoming a total of 4.5 million passengers, according to the data released recently by the Hellenic Civil Aviation Authority. On top of that, as already our minister mentioned, the Athens International Airport will welcome 43 new routes on existing services, including 6 new airlines and 8 new destinations for the summer 2022 season. Furthermore, seasonal flights from the US will run until October, and according to our minister, Mr. Kikilias, 2022 is expected to mark a record number of direct flights from the US and more than 460,000 available airline seats. What's more, TUI Group said it was moving full speed ahead with plans to bring more than 3 million visitors to Greece this year, much earlier than ever before and exceeding pre-COVID 2019 levels. In addition to the above, European Travel Agents and Tour Operators Association, ECTAA, the umbrella organization for Europe's travel agents and tour operators, where President and Secretary General honor us with their presence this afternoon, inked a deal last month with the Greek National Tourism Organization, the GNTO, making Greece its preferred destination for 2022. Under this deal, the CTAA will promote Greece as its preferred travel destination in the next 12 months among its 70,000 members of travel agents and tour operators in Europe. In this direction, it will bring together European travel agents and tour operators with local destination management companies and other partners. So, all you want is Greece will become familiar for many European travelers, said ECTA in the statement. And rightly so, I may add, as the Ministry of Tourism in Greece promotes the diversification of tourism offer across the country and throughout the year. Thematic tourism is one of our strategic goals, with rural, mountain tourism, ecotourism, agrotourism, gastronomy, and wine tourism being at the top of the agenda. The strategic orientation of all projects related to diversified and inclusive tourism in Greece is to upgrade the national tourism product and achieve also smart specialization at regional level by promoting regulatory reforms, mobilizing private investments, and developing lasting public and private synergies by adopting a whole-of-government approach. Our aim is to meet rising demand for more authentic experiences that offer stronger engagement with local communities, their culture and products, as well as demand for a greener approach in all stages of the travel experience, while also capitalizing on the opportunities for the economic, social, and environmental revitalization of destinations through tourism. We wish to make Greece a resilient, accessible, and inclusive tourism destination for everyone. In this respect, the Ministry of Tourism of Greece focuses on reskilling and upskilling for the tourism workforce, and also works against discrimination, gender inequality, and to provide accessibility for all. Moreover, digital education will also provide the necessary basis to deal with increasingly interconnected digital markets and consumers. Dear friends, it goes without saying that it is the right momentum for a profound systemic shift to a more sustainable tourism economy that works for both people and the planet. Innovation and sustainability have become the new normal, after all. The Sustainable Development Goals are vital for a recovery that leads to a greener, more inclusive economies and stronger and more resilient societies. We now have an opportunity to fast-track sustainable development by implementing recovery plans that are aligned with the SDGs. The vision of the Ministry of Tourism in Greece is to increasingly comply with the SDGs agenda of the UN 2030 by mainstreaming them into the national tourist policy and by establishing a national evaluation system to monitor the progress of their implementation. In conclusion, as we all know, within crises are the seeds of opportunity. Therefore, we believe that this crisis is an opportunity to rethink the sector. And only through collective action, solidarity, and international cooperation will we be able to transform tourism, make it increasingly sustainable, responsible, and resilient. Thank you very much.
A development of tourism in a city. I'm sorry. I would like to welcome the students of Tourism School of Ministry of Tourism. Thank you for coming. A serious development of a destination, and especially Athens, needs high-skilled professionals. And we have these high-skilled professionals trusted by the Mayor of Athens, Mr. Vangelis Vlachos. The floor is yours.
I'll be quick. Dear Mr. Kelaididis, Mr. Chilidis, thank you for your invitation. It's an honor being here. I'd like to highlight the very effective collaboration we've been having, at least for the past 2.5 years. And I'm more than sure that it will be more fruitful in the near future. I talk to our guests. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to Athens and to have this opportunity to join this important conversation. Actually, there couldn't be a more appropriate title for the day than Real Life Tourism. These words reflect our need as a city and as a citizens of Athens as well to build new partnerships. The phrase is about creativity, sharing, and mutual understanding. And it speaks straight to our desire not only to restart tourism, but to start doing tourism differently. We have traveled a great distance over the last 2 years during the pandemic, and we're all very excited for the start of a new tourism season. We have not arrived at this point because the pandemic has ended. We are here because we have learned how to recreate the visitor experience of the past, while also ensuring that tourism will be safe, responsible, and more sustainable than in the past. We should all be very proud of this achievement, and it has demanded an enormous amount of hard work. We have promising predictions for tourism in Athens for 2022. The Minister of Tourism highlighted this optimism. Athens is about to see more transatlantic and regional airline flights than ever before. Hundreds of new hotel beds are created in the city, many new restaurants, and lots of experiences that will help visitors to discover that there is much more to live in Athens that only a short time ago would have been missed. To help with this process, this month, the City of Athens is celebrating the first ever This is Athens City Festival. It's a big festival for the city, for the citizens and the visitors, featuring more than 100 events taking place throughout May in the territories of the City of Athens. It's a significant event, not only because it helps to launch the summer season, but because it's introducing Athens to Athenians and visitors to hidden cultural spaces during concerts, parties, special tours. I'd like to give a special thanks to Hata for your leadership, who has been extremely valuable for Athens. And to everyone here, friends, old and new, we could not be prouder to have you as partners in this new era for Athens. Thank you for being here, and best wishes for a great summer season. Thank you.
We would like to announce together that we are here on behalf of the mayor, that in the next few days we will sign, the City of Athens, the Mayor of Athens and Hata will sign a MOU for even more efforts on developing tourism in Athens and in Attica generally. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would like to, in this part here, that we are closing the first, welcome Eric, the first part, and we'll take a very important issue at the end, that we will have the general manager of banking of National Bank of Greece. Before that, I would like also to inform you that the day before yesterday, Hata signed an MOU for supporting, developing, and synergies with the Chamber of Commerce of Athens. This happened 2 days ago. This is the first time that we are announcing. We don't have even in the news. Yes. Mrs. Christina Theophilidou will present serious ideas about how the banks could work with travel agents, and travel agents could work with National Bank of Greece.
Good afternoon. It's a great pleasure for me to be here representing National Bank of Greece. a long-standing partner of HATA and supporter of its members. I will say a couple of words about the bank, about the sector, and how we can all work together to foster growth and development for all HATA members. Dear guests, you will allow me to continue in Greek for the next few minutes, but I hope we'll have the opportunity later during the day to discuss any issues of common interest. Ευχαριστώ και πάλι κύριε Τσιλίδη, κύριε Κελαϊδίτη για την πρόσκληση να είμαστε κι εμείς σήμερα εδώ κοντά σας. Ξεκινώντας να πω δύο πολύ σύντομα λόγια για την Εθνική Τράπεζα. Η τράπεζά μας κατά τη διάρκεια του 2021 ισχυροποίησε τον ισολογισμό της, αλλά επίσης ενίσχυσε σημαντικά και την κερδοφορία της, ενώ συνέχισε το μετασχηματισμό της. Το όραμά μας για την Εθνική Τράπεζα της επόμενης μέρας παραμένει σταθερό. Θέλουμε να είμαστε η τράπεζα πρώτης επιλογής. Η αξιόπιστη τράπεζα που δημιουργεί μαζί με τους πελάτες της ευκαιρίες και μέλλον. Η τράπεζα που στηρίζει δυναμικά την ανάπτυξη, αλλά έχει και ανθρώπινο πρόσωπο. Η τράπεζα που εκτιμά τους πελάτες της και δίνει αξία στους μετόχους της, την οικονομία, την κοινωνία και τις επιχειρήσεις. Η Εθνική Τράπεζα που με συνέπεια στηρίζει τον τουριστικό κλάδο. Η χώρα μας, αξιοποιώντας τα ανταγωνιστικά της πλεονεκτήματα, όπως τη φυσική ομορφιά της και την πολιτιστική κληρονομιά της, έχει καταφέρει να αναπτύξει σημαντικά τον τουρισμό της. Ο τουρισμός, όπως πολύ καλά γνωρίζετε, αποτελεί ένα βασικό πυλώνα ανάπτυξης και καλύπτει το 20% του ΑΕΠ της και το 27% των εξαγωγών της. Και τα δύο νούμερα είναι πολύ πιο ψηλά από τους ευρωπαϊκούς αντίστοιχους μέσους όρους. Και μάλιστα και πιο ψηλά από τους μέσους όρους των μεσογειακών χωρών. Η αλήθεια είναι ότι πριν από την έλευση της πανδημίας, ο τουριστικός κλάδος διένυε μια περίοδο ισχυρής ανάπτυξης και το διάστημα από το 2013 μέχρι το 2019 κατέγραφε μέση ετήσια αύξηση ξένων τουριστών της τάξης του 11%. Αυτό μας είχε οδηγήσει σε μια αύξηση του μεριδίου μας στη μεσογειακή αγορά από 5,5% σε 8,5%. Ακόμα και κατά τη διάρκεια της πανδημίας, η Ελλάδα ανταποκρίθηκε πολύ θετικά. Μετά το δύσκολο σε παγκόσμιο επίπεδο 2020, το 2021 ανακάμψαμε και καταφέραμε να ανακτήσουμε το 50% των αφήξεων του 2019, ενώ παράλληλα αυξήθηκαν τα έσοδα αναάφιξη κατά 20%, ξεπερνώντας κάθε προσδοκία που υπήρχε εκείνη την περίοδο. Επίσης, ξεχωρίσαμε ως η χώρα με τη δεύτερη καλύτερη επίδοση στη Μεσόγειο και ενισχύσαμε σημαντικά το brand μας, όπως ανέφερε προηγουμένως και ο Υπουργός, ως ασφαλή και ποιοτικό προορισμό, τουριστικό προορισμό. Λόγω του πολέμου στην Ουκρανία, οι ευρωπαϊκές αγορές πλήττονται από μια σημαντική ενεργειακή και επισιτιστική κρίση που επηρεάζει όλους τους τομείς της οικονομίας. Είναι προφανές ότι και στον τουρισμό στη χώρα μας θα υπάρχει αντίκτυπο, που όμως ελπίζουμε και πιστεύουμε ότι θα καταφέρουμε να καλυφθεί από άλλες πηγές. Είχαμε και μία συζήτηση νωρίτερα για το κατά πόσον αυτό είναι εφικτό. Παρ' όλα αυτά, η άρση των υγειονομικών περιορισμών, και σε αυτό αναφέρθηκε ο Υπουργός μας νωρίτερα, αλλά και η διάθεση όλων Ελλήνων και ξένων να επανέλθουμε σε μια κανονικότητα μετά από τόσα χρόνια πανδημίας, δείχνουν καλά σημάδια για την κίνηση που περιμένουμε το 2022. Σε αυτό βέβαια πρέπει να πούμε ότι συμβάλλει και το αποτέλεσμα των δικών σας ενεργειών που έχετε οδηγήσει τη χώρα μας σε αυτά τα πολύ θετικά αποτελέσματα. Παρά λοιπόν τις εξωγενείς διαταραχές, ο ελληνικός τουρισμός αποδεικνύει ότι έχει τη δυναμική να συνεχίσει την πορεία που βλέπαμε στην προ-πανδημία εποχή. Σύμφωνα με τις εκτιμήσεις του Οικονομικού Επιτελείου της Εθνικής Τράπεζας, η σύγκληση της Ελλάδας στο μεσογειακό μέσο όρο σε όρους εποχικότητας και ποιότητας, σε ορίζοντα δεκαετίας, μπορεί να οδηγήσει τις τουριστικές πράξεις στην Ελλάδα σε επίπεδο διπλάσιο από αυτό του 2019. Κάτι που πρακτικά σημαίνει επιπλέον έσοδα 18 δις να εισραίουν ετησίως στην ελληνική οικονομία. Προς αυτή την κατεύθυνση είναι εξαιρετικά σημαντική η συνεργασία των ελληνικών επιχειρήσεων τουρισμού με τις τράπεζες και με την Εθνική Τράπεζα για να αξιοποιηθούν πόροι συγχρηματοδότησης και προγραμμάτων που υπάρχουν ήδη στην αγορά. Τα προγράμματα αυτά διακρίνονται σε τρεις κυρίως κατηγορίες, σε τρεις πυλώνες. Ο πρώτος πυλώνας είναι το Ταμείο Ανάκαμψης και Ανθεκτικότητας, που στηρίζει μεταρρυθμίσεις και επενδύσεις για την αναβάθμιση υποδομών σε πράσινες και ψηφιακές τεχνολογίες, με αντίκτυπο στην παραγωγικότητα και την ανθεκτικότητα της οικονομίας. Ο δεύτερος πυλώνας είναι εγκυοδοτικά προγράμματα, όπως το πρόγραμμα Pan-European, το οποίο καλύπτει με ιδιαίτερα απλούς όρους και διαδικασίες και με την εγγύηση του Πανευρωπαϊκού Ταμείου Εγκυοδοσίας ένα ευρύ φάσμα χρηματοδοτικών αναγκών, όπως επενδύσεις σε πάγια, κάλυψη ρευστότητας, αλλά και αναχρηματοδότηση υφιστάμενων οφειλών. Ο τρίτος πυλώνας είναι τα προγράμματα, η αξιοποίηση πόρων από το νέο ΕΣΠΑ, που μπορεί να γίνει συνδυαστικά και με προγράμματα και πόρους του Ταμείου Ανάκαμψης και Ανθεκτικότητας και συμβάλλει βεβαίως στην βελτίωση της ανταγωνιστικότητας των ελληνικών τουριστικών επιχειρήσεων. Στην Εθνική Τράπεζα έχουμε τις γνώσεις και είμαστε κοντά σας για να συζητήσουμε, να μοιραστούμε την τεχνογνωσία μας για τα συγκεκριμένα προγράμματα και να συζητήσουμε μαζί σας ποιο είναι αυτό που μπορεί να ανταποκριθεί καλύτερα στις ανάγκες της επιχείρησής σας. Επενδύουμε συστηματικά στον ψηφιακό μετασχηματισμό και προσφέρουμε λύσεις συναλλαγής και εξυπηρέτησης μέσω του digital banking, το οποίο έχει αναγνωριστεί ως το καλύτερο στην ελληνική αγορά. Ταυτόχρονα αναδιαμορφώνουμε το μοντέλο εξυπηρέτησης της πελατείας μας από συμβούλους business banking στα καταστήματά μας, τον ανθρώπινο παράγοντα, στον οποίο, όπως ανέφερα πριν, η Εθνική Τράπεζα επενδύει συστηματικά. Αγαπητοί συμμετέχοντες, στην Εθνική μας Τράπεζα πιστεύουμε στην δυναμική του τουρισμού και έχοντας σαν επίκεντρο την ενίσχυση των επιχειρήσεων του κλάδου, είμαστε στην ευχάριστη θέση να ανανεώσουμε για άλλη μια χρονιά τη συνεργασία μας με την Ομοσπονδία και το επόμενο διάστημα θα σας ανακοινώσουμε και πιο συγκεκριμένα το νέο πακέτο National Bank Pack 2022 και τα συγκεκριμένα προνόμια που θα μπορείτε να απολαμβάνετε μέσω αυτής της συμφωνίας μας με την Ομοσπονδία. Σας ευχαριστώ και πάλι. Είμαι σίγουρη ότι όλοι περιμένετε με αγωνία να ακούσετε τον Υπουργό μας που είναι σήμερα εδώ. Ευχαριστώ για την πρόσκληση. It's a pleasure being here and thank you very much.
My apologies to our guests. That I will speak a little bit, just a little bit in Greek. Thank you. Κύριε Υπουργέ, καλώς ήρθατε. Είδατε ότι οι συζητήσεις, οι συναντήσεις βγάζουν πολλά καινούργια νέα και ακούσατε ότι το Fed Hata National Bank of Greece PAC θα συνεχιστεί και τον επόμενο χρόνο. Σας ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ και ευελπιστούμε και σε επέκταση των δραστηριοτήτων και των συνεργασιών που θα έχουμε μαζί και ως Χάτα, ως σύνδεσμος και ως Ομοσπονδία. Και φυσικά τα χρήματα μόλις ήρθαν. Θα είναι τιμή για μας. Να μας πείτε δύο λόγια, κύριε Υπουργέ.
Dear guests, you are very welcome to Greece. First of all, I want to thank you for the invitation. It's a great honor for me addressing you from this panel in a tourist season that we hope that will be one of the best we ever had. The truth is, before illegal Russia's invasion in Ukraine, we were totally sure it would be the best. But it is really very encouraging that even under these current circumstances of the war, our tourist season is still going very well and the expectations are really high. It seems that after 2 years of COVID quarantines, a lot of our clients want really to come again and experience the Greek summer and being with us here, and they're very, very welcome. You will permit me now to address to the Greek language for official reasons, but I want to say again that you are very, very welcome, and this is an important event for our country today. Λοιπόν, αγαπητέ και αγαπητέ Λίσανδρε και όλοι οι άλλοι αγαπητοί που είμαστε συνεργάτες, φίλοι όλα αυτά τα χρόνια. Αυτά τα χρόνια της θητεία μου δηλαδή, και πριν, αλλά στη θητεία μου λίγο πιο έντονα. Ξέρετε πάρα πολύ καλά ότι η κυβέρνηση εν το συνόλο, αλλά και εγώ προσωπικά ως Υπουργός Ανάπτυξης και Επενδύσεων, έχουμε ιδιαίτερη σημασία δώσει στα τουριστικά γραφεία, στα τουριστικά πρακτορεία. Κυρίως διότι, όχι δεν το λέω για να μου πείτε μπράβο ή για να κερδίσω κάτι, το θεωρώ αυτονόητη υποχρέωσή μας να ήμασταν έτσι, καθώς χωρίς εσάς το τουριστικό προϊόν δεν μπορεί να φτάσει στα ύψη που πραγματικά θέλουμε. Γιατί για να μιλάμε λίγο με όρους πραγματικής αγοράς, χωρίς εσάς ο τουρισμός παραμένει ένα μικρό κομμάτι. Εσείς είστε οι επαγγελματίες του χώρου που ξέρετε καλά την αγορά και μπορείτε να το πάτε, να το μεγενθείτε, να το πολλαπλασιάσετε και να φέρετε τους πελάτες που θέλουμε και που αυξάνουν κατά πολύ την τελική απόδοση του τουριστικού μας προϊόντος. Βλέπω και τις δύο γενικές γραμματείς εδώ, την παραλυθούσα και την διάδοχο. Την χάνει είναι και οι δύο πάρα πολύ καλές μου φίλες, η αλήθεια είναι. Με τη Βίκη έχω συνεργασία από την εποχή που ήμουν Υπουργός Υγείας, ακόμα για να φανταστείτε, όταν δίναμε τις σκληρές μάχες των μνημονίων και της εργαλειοθήκης του ΟΣΑ. Την Ολυμπία, ήσουν και ο πρώτος που την υπεδέχθη στα νεοδημοκρατικά δρόμενα. Και πιστεύω πάρα πολύ και σε ικανότητες και των δύο κυριών ότι μπορεί να είναι χρήσιμες. Η Βίκη ήταν ήδη, η Ολυμπία είναι τώρα. Βίκη, σου έχουν και καλή επιτυχία στη νέα προσπάθεια. Είμαι εδώ για να σας πω λοιπόν ότι και τα χρηματοδοτικά μας εργαλεία, όπως κάναμε την περμένη φορά με την επιδότηση που συμπεριλάβαμε μετά από δικά σας αιτήματα και εσάς μέσα στο εργαλείο. Και αναπτυξιακή τράπεζα, για να μπορέσουμε να βγάζουμε, όπως κάνουμε ήδη, ειδικά χρηματοδοτικά εργαλεία που θα μπορούν να καλύψουν τις δικές σας ανάγκες προσαρμοσμένες. Γιατί ο δικός σας χώρος έχει κάποια ιδιομορφία σε σχέση με το πώς λειτουργεί η υπόλοιπη αγορά. Επίσης, να σας πω ότι εξετάζουμε στην κυβέρνηση πάρα πολύ και θα ανακοινωθούν μέτρα, πιστεύω σχετικά σύντομα, πώς θα αντιμετωπίσουμε την ζημιά που παθαίνουν τα πρακτορεία που είχαν ιδιαίτερη συνεργασία με την Ρωσία και την Ουκρανία, που έχουν βρεθεί σήμερα κυριολεκτικά στον αέρα χωρίς καμία δική τους ευθύνη λόγω των επιλογών του κυρίου Πούτιν. Σε κάθε περίπτωση είμαστε εδώ για να δώσουμε στην τουριστική αγορά βιωσιμότητα, χρηματοδότηση και μακροπρόθεσμη βιώσιμη λειτουργία, διότι αναγνωρίζουμε τον κομβικό σας ρόλο στην εξέλιξη του τουριστικού μας προϊόντος. Ξέρετε ότι κάνουμε μια μεγάλη προσπάθεια να αλλάξουμε το προσφερόμενο τουριστικό προϊόν της χώρας. Να αλλάξουμε τελείως αυτό που η Ελλάδα ήταν σε σχέση με αυτό που θέλουμε να είναι. Και είμαι ευτυχής που αυτά τα 3 χρόνια έχουμε κάνει αρκετή πρόοδο σε αυτό. Έχουμε προσελκύσει πολύ μεγάλες αλυσίδες που κατά το παρελθόν δεν λειτουργούσαν στην Ελλάδα. Και τώρα έρχονται μαζικά η μία μετά την άλλη και ανοίγουν ξενοδοχεία στην Ελλάδα και αλυσίδες στην Ελλάδα, φέρνοντας μαζί και τους πελάτες τους και άρα αναβαθμίζοντας σε πολύ μεγάλο βαθμό το πελατολόγιο το οποίο θέλουμε να προσελκύσουμε στη χώρα μας. Όλοι αντιλαμβανόμαστε ότι αν κερδίσουμε το στοίχημα του να έχουμε περισσότερους πελάτες υψηλού εισοδήματος σε resort υψηλής ποιότητας, τα οποία θα μπορούν να έχουν ανθρώπους που μπορούν να ξοδέψουν περισσότερα χρήματα κατά κεφαλήν. Και αν ταυτόχρονα αυξήσουμε το χρόνο της τουριστικής μας περίοδου, έστω όπως πέρσι παραδείγματος χάρη έγινε, πέρσι πήγαμε εξαιρετικά καλά, πολύ καλύτερα των προβλέψεων, διότι η τουριστική περίοδος κράτησε περίπου 1 μήνα παραπάνω. Ενώ ξεκίνησε πολύ αργότερα, προφανώς λόγω της καραντίνας. Αν αυτό το κρατήσουμε τώρα ως μια πάγια συνήθεια των πελατών μας να κάνουν 1 μήνα παραπάνω στην Ελλάδα και τώρα να ξεκινάμε την κανονική έναρξη σεζόν και όχι όπως πέρσι που ξεκίνησαμε τέλος Ιουνίου, αρχές Ιουλίου, ή θα έχουμε κάνει Ολυμπία ένα πολύ μεγάλο προς τα εμπρός βήμα. Και αυτό είναι επίσης ένας πολύ καλός στόχος και για εσάς, γιατί και εσάς θα σας δώσει αρκετά μεγαλύτερο χρόνο όπου θα διαχειρίζεστε πελάτες. Αυτές λοιπόν είναι προσπάθειες που αρχίζουν να καρποφορούν. Επαναλαμβάνω, δυστυχώς υπό αντίξωες συνθήκες, θα θέλαμε όλες οι συνθήκες να ήταν τελείως διαφορετικές, αλλά τη ζωή αναγκαστικά την παίρνεις όπως έρχεται. Και εδώ είμαστε και σε αυτό το περιβάλλον πρέπει να λειτουργήσουμε. Είμαστε λοιπόν ανοιχτοί. Περιμένω τους θεσμικούς εκπροσώπους στην ΆΤΑ να έρθει, ειδικά με την Αναπτυξιακή Τράπεζα, να σχεδιάσουμε ένα τελείως εξειδικευμένο χρηματοδοτικό εγγυημένο εργαλείο για σας, ακριβώς για να προστατεύεστε και από ενδεχόμενους κινδύνους όπως αυτοί που προηγουμένως είπα. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ την πρόσκληση και εύχομαι καλή επιτυχία σε όλη την ημερίδα.
Την επόμενη εβδομάδα θα είμαστε δίπλα σας. I would like also to say a big thank you to the Secretary General of SETE that was here and was one of the most, and is here, one of the most important persons in yachting in Greece. Thank you, Mr. Vernikos. And next, yes. We will start, I will start, Mrs. Maria Krivou, the journalist, senior editor of Fortune Greece, will make the presentation, but I would like to thank before that, I would like to thank Mr. Pavel Niewiadomski, president of FECTA and president of Polish Travel Association. I would like to thank for the presence Mr. Lars Sticker, president of World Travel Agents Association Alliance, for his presence. Mr. Eric Dresen, Secretary General of FECTA. Mr. Jürgen Bachmann, Secretary General, Secretary General of SETO. And our very good friend, Frank Ostman, President of the Dutch Association. Thank you very much for your presence. In all this effort, please note that I have a very good, we have also a junior alliance here, Representative Mrs. Vlachou. Thank you for coming. In all this efforts, a very catalyst role played Mr. Marios Kamenos, Treasurer of FECTA and Vice President of HATA. Mrs. Maria Krivou, the floor is yours.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you heard, I'm Maria Krivou, senior editor from Fortune Greece and PowerGame.gr. And I would like to welcome you to our special event, Real Tourism, the Hellenic and European Travel Agents Initiative, organized by HATA. The challenges we face, but also the opportunities that lie ahead, are numerous. In the next 2 hours, we will focus on this new environment and we will try to analyze in depth the changes brought by the pandemic to the tourism sector. We will also examine all the available tools we have in our disposal so that we can be better prepared for the future, a future destined to be full of surprises. Businesses around the world have to adapt quickly to developments related to a number of important themes. Climate change developments and green economy are at the core of this agenda. They need to jump on the digital transformation wagon, they must pursue sustainable growth and embrace innovation. All these are critical aspects of the new reality that is taking place. If there is one thing we've learned from the pandemic and the recession that followed is this. In order to achieve sustainable growth, we have to invest in specific skills such as enhanced flexibility, increased adaptability, and pursue a credible risk management strategy. We also need to create teams that embrace change in a swift and timely manner. So let's meet our distinguished guests. As Mr. Kelaididis mentioned, we have with us Mr. Paweł Neniadowski, Mr. Lars Takier, and Mr. Jürgen Bachmann.
We take off our masks.
Yes. So I would like to welcome you all. Thank you for being here. And in our first panel, we will talk about the power of travel, tourism trends shaping today and tomorrow. So what are the trends that are expecting to dominate in the near future the global tourism industry, and which factors should all professionals focus on?
Well, first of all, very good afternoon to you all, and thank you for the invitation to HATA. Well, first of all, I think we need to know where we are, where we stand. We have a situation of supposedly 4 smaller...
Are you okay?
Yes. Where we stand. No, it's okay.
Jürgen, did I already say something wrong?
It was overwhelming.
So supposedly we are on a smaller or larger scale facing 4 crises. One is the climatic crisis, and you have already spoken about it. The second crisis is supposedly the economic crisis, and this is something very, very complicated. I'm not going to talk about it now. From the perspective of the travel sector, it's, let's say, high fuel prices, and this is going to affect, obviously, the whole economy, including the travel sector. The third big crisis, unfortunately, it is what happened on the 23rd of February, which is the conflict in Ukraine and the aggression of Russia. And this is going to affect supposedly all countries, but some of them will be affected more than others.
Mm-hmm. And we have to mention that you come from Poland, a country that is affected from the Ukrainian war.
Well, indeed, we are, especially the incoming travel sector, for a few reasons. One of the reasons is that, unfortunately, hotels are not available or not as available as they used to be, because, as you know, we have accepted 3 million our friends from Ukraine, and we have not been using any camps or refugee camps. We are just using the existing infrastructure, including our own people that accept refugees in their homes. So indeed, but of course there are some negatives and also some positives about it, including the labor market, which supposedly will be able to absorb our friends from Ukraine, and this is already happening, especially in the hospitality business. Going back, there is also a fourth crisis, which is a little bit hidden behind the war in Ukraine, and it is COVID, because we don't really know what is going to happen in the near future. So all these 4 factors are going to affect one way or another the travel sector. Now, what ways? I'm going to pass to my colleagues. Maybe they can
yes,
say
Mr.
a little
Bachmann,
bit more.
what's your opinion? Would you like to add something as far as the trends are
The
concerned?
essential points, I think Pavel addressed them 100%. Let me just rephrase the economic implications of the inflationary push, which we are all facing in Europe and elsewhere in the world. The hike of interest rates, which we observe already, and what would this mean to the allocation of funds, monetary funds, and investment opportunities? So all this will not necessarily, so in a nutshell, cheap money is over. And this will impact our businesses too. So this is one thing which I would like to rephrase in this instance. From the ecological side, I'd just like to add possibly one point, which is we do have to pay a price for the accelerated transition which the war in Ukraine of Russia is putting on our economies, because we have to get out of, or at least less dependent on Russian oil and energy. So we do have an accelerated ecological transition which we have to face, and which will cost, which will absorb state budget. So that's an implication too. And last but not least, I'd like to rephrase that within this crisis, this looming crisis, and I'm living in France, and we have experienced some very nice, nice example, a very, very interesting example. If you do try to develop into a ecological transition, if energy prices are getting higher, if fuel prices are hiking, then the most vulnerable people in our population will get squeezed out of the economical circuit. And we had unrest 3 years ago in France due to simple fuel rises, because we wanted to impose a tax on CO2. So mind you, within this ecological transition, we have a looming social conflict, or looming social conflicts too. So this is only as an addition to the things Pavel pointed out. The big things are really, COVID is not over. The war has has a rippling effect on our economy, ecological transition, social condition of our workers and citizens, as well as to our political situation overall.
And just to add that apart from the energy crisis, we will have to face food crisis as well in the near future. So, which is a factor that many governments haven't taken into consideration so far, but they will have to face in the near future.
Egypt, for example.
Yes. So I would like a statement from Mr. Tukier as well. You just arrived, but you were on time.
Yes. Luckily I was. I put the microphone on. I don't know if it is.
Yes.
Good. I actually brought some slides but they've already been said by the two gentlemen, so I'll just show them real
We
fast.
could have them in the background if you want.
If you can put the slides on.
It's on.
Can you put the slides on? Thank you. Okay, excellent. I'm just going to the... hello everyone, my name is Lars Tikier. I'm from Denmark, but also chair of the WTO. We're going to stand up actually. And hopefully I'm not going to fall down. We'll see.
Take care.
The trends that have already been presented by my esteemed colleagues is actually somewhat the same that I was going to say, but still, first of all, you get something on print. Hopefully you can use that for something. And secondly, there are some angles on it that I just wanted to touch upon. One thing, we've already mentioned the fact that there are issues out there, actually 4 issues that Pavel already talked about, but also we have a lot of travelers that are looking for deals because everybody thinks that they can get a deal now, because they're back in business and everybody's probably willing to discount the price of travel. No, that's not the case. Yes. Oh yes, certainly I can stand over here. Then of course what are the products available after 2 years of lockdown? Are we talking about the same products? And just reflect on your own products in Greece. Are you still presenting the same products that you did prior to COVID? Customers don't necessarily know. Luckily, the customers, at least in Europe, are purchasing much more in terms of package travel than they did earlier, which is great, because that brings them into the travel agency business, but also because it gives them a greater security if something goes wrong or if they want to cancel their flight. And then, of course, we have this interesting challenge with Europeans is one thing, but the Americans have an even bigger challenge, because when they hopefully go home again, they have to test, and a number of them get stuck in a test and stay another 10 days in Europe. That keeps people from traveling, for sure. And also in the Northern American market, there's a notion about war in Europe is like there's war in all of Europe, which is definitely not the case, but it has a great effect on the destinations in Europe. Unfortunately, a lot, for instance, in terms of Poland, but also Romania and other countries close to the war in Ukraine. So that was one thing. Then the travel trends that you asked us to talk about. People choose destinations closer to home. What a surprise. But they do because they don't feel quite sure yet. I'm usually saying, at least in the Danish market, we have, out of a population of about 6 million, 20% can't wait to travel. 20% will definitely stay home. And then there's a 60% sort of gap in between where they're all waiting on the sidelines, seeing what it's like when the others go out. Does something happen, or can they actually travel? So we haven't gotten over that reluctancy yet. There's more niche travel now. People go on opera travel or bike travel or whatever than we've seen before. A lot of late bookings, and we're talking really late bookings. So when you talk, I talked to a journalist on the way, and he was asking for the predictions for the summer. I said, your guess is as good as mine, because people tend to book very late, maybe even less than a week before they travel. So that makes it difficult to predict. And then, of course, what's going to happen with the travel industry? I think the microphone went out again, but whatever. What's going to happen? People are not sure about. Is there going to be worse products out there? Is it going to be a bankruptcy? What else is going to happen? And then finally, the destinations for Europeans, as I see it, at least I may be wrong, but let's see. It's going to be Europe. It's going to be Mediterranean countries. Congratulations to Greece. I think you're going to get a pretty good season. And then Western Europe, not Central and Eastern Europe, because of the issues I talked about earlier. People are traveling closer to home. They may go to Turkey, yes, Egypt that you mentioned, but also maybe the United Arab Emirates, but not sort of worldwide as we used to. So overseas, maybe Canada, the US, and those that are adventurous will go beyond that. But we're not seeing a big push towards Asia or Africa. So we'll see what happens in the long run, but in the short term, I'm not pessimistic, but I'm not optimistic either. Let's see, 2022 is probably going to be 60-70% of 2019, if you ask me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, how would you describe the tourist of the 21st century, and which are the main characteristics that compose his profile, Mr. Bachmann?
I don't have a crystal ball, so speaking about the future is something always pretty adventurous. Let me try to describe what I suppose is common sense. In terms of consumption, I would assume that the post-pandemic consumer will be something. So we're talking about the consumer of the 21st century or the post-pandemic changes, or is it two questions in it? In all?
There are two different questions.
Okay, right. So we are talking
about
the post-pandemic
profile, yes, that the tourist of the 21st century will have.
Okay, right. So I'm right with my crystal ball. Okay. I think that in the 21st century, we will have a tourism with quite a lot of constraints. I mean, the 21st century is 2099, and I won't be there, and I suppose possibly the young fellows, the young students, hopefully they will still be there, but at least I won't be there. So we will have an industry with quite a lot of constraints. The constraints will be, this is what we are all discussing, coming from Scandinavia. They will be linked to transportation. They will be linked to CO2 emission, and everything which is flight-based might be questioned. It's up to us to find solutions for that. But this is one of the constraints. Other constraints might be budget constraints, might be social constraints, because simply it's no longer trendy to travel. I don't know. There will be constraints. Secondly, I guess Lars pointed it out, we will have a segmented market, with quite a lot of niche segments, which for marketeers will establish a challenge how to address all these different markets. Sustainability, our honorable speakers opening up this session, they addressed, as far as I could understand, my Greek is really basic, efcharisto, and I guess, so they all address this issue, and sustainability will be one of the key trends which we do have to face and embrace for this 21st century. And then one thing, and now I'm not doing the crystal ball game of Facebook and other meta companies, but I guess we will have something which is linking up travel tech and real life tourism experience. There is something which is called metaverse, and it's all hyped for the time being. But let's think 20 years further down the road. I guess there's something there which will be a new internet, and there will be our marketeers, the young generation right here present. Thank you very much. They will have this challenge to establish a link between these two worlds, I suppose. And last but not least, and this has been addressed as well, and I'm entirely convinced that this is one of the key trends, at least for the next 50 years when I hopefully still be around, or 50 years, 30 years, let's say, consumer experience. They don't want to have a kind of experience, and they go for it, and this is something. So this is what I see with my little, 30 years of life before me. Thank you.
While we were speaking, I saw Mr. Turkier taking down notes, so I suppose that he had to add something.
Yeah. Yes, I certainly do. The thing is, especially with the younger generations, I think we have to, those of us that are a little older, need to adapt to the fact that the young generation have individual demands. And I love that because it makes it much more challenging to make a good trip. But we can't just expect that what was good yesterday is also good tomorrow. So I'm not worried about the crystal ball in this respect, because I think we have to be much more adaptable. We need to be able to provide more individual products, and we need to be able to do it in the way that lives up to the customer's expectations, including the sustainability issue. It's not an issue right now because we can't really handle both war, inflation, and sustainability, but it's coming, friends, and I really hope that it's going to happen soon. So sustainability is going to be an issue, and we might not be able to fly as much, and there might even be restrictions. 3 years ago, I actually in Denmark suggested that we had quotas, so that you had a certain amount of points or whatever that you could either use on a car, on travel, on meat, or whatever. That created quite a discussion. We haven't reached that at all, but that might be a consequence in the future. You can't have it all. You can have something, but you need to choose what you want. So those were my angles.
Pavel, I will address to you as Pavel because your surname is too difficult to pronounce.
It is quite difficult. Actually, I was taking notes in my mind, so you couldn't see it. But I would just like to say something which was a key topic and has been a key topic about the role of the travel agent for the future traveler. And we were discussing this issue maybe 10 or 20 years ago, where we noticed that maybe the travel agents industry is going to be dead. But it's actually not the case. And I think that there is a very good example when this COVID crisis happened, that now people are going back to travel agents because they know that you need to be serviced. You need to know the preferences of clients. And also, it's not a difficult thing to book a ticket from Paris to London on a flight or on the train, the train. But, to change it, to have a refund in due course, to get ancillary services, and actually to know that you're talking to a professional and that the professional supposedly was there in that place I'm going to visit. And this is also, I'm not sure about the other markets, but I'm actually quite certain that it is the case that, for example, in my country, it's also the young generation. They are, used to, and they want to do a lot of things. When it comes to travel, they also ask the travel agents, and also this comes also to business travel and all kinds of travel sectors. So if I may say, the future of the traveler has been prescribed here by my colleagues, or envisaged by my colleagues, but also there's a big role of the travel agent. Of course, we need to adapt. We need to adapt to new technologies, etc. But there is room for the travel agent sector as well.
Mm-hmm. We talked a little bit about the problems that the industry is facing, about the new trends that are coming. As far as the new communication formula is concerned, that the industry should base its strategy on, taking into consideration that it is connecting with the creation of experiences, what kind of formula do the professionals, what kind of strategy should they follow in terms of communication, Mr. Toukier?
Well, I think if we haven't done it already, it's about time to embrace the IT side of travel. If you look at at least the younger generations, they do a lot of communities. So they may not be, so we will be providing the travel. And I think what Pavel said about the travel industry is not going to die, but the travel agents might die. But I don't think they will, because we serve a purpose of providing safety, security, all kinds of stuff. But we also need to provide some communities. In other words, when you travel out and you want to play bridge or watch a soccer game or want to go to an opera, whatever, bicycling, you need to be able to connect with those communities in your destination that actually have the same interests. So we have a lot of work to do there, and that we have understand what the customer wants, and we can actually connect them, and hopefully also provide new products that sort of evolve out of what the communities want. So we can't just sit back and expect that what we did yesterday is going to be applicable tomorrow. And especially with the younger generation, it's a little easier with people my age and maybe a little higher, because we are more sort of accepting, but the younger generation are not waiting. And if you can't catch them, that old catchphrase about, you've got 7 seconds or 4 seconds to catch the attention. If that doesn't work, you're out. So think of tourism as a Pokemon. You know Pokemon? Or maybe you do. Go out and discover things, find those on your screen, and be part of that community that you're visiting. That is really something we need to work on. So,
Mr. Bachmann?
I guess if we want to describe how to communicate, or how to establish a communication platform with a strategy for the next years to come, we should closely observe what has been the evolutions we've seen in the pandemic and post-pandemic. I think we all agree that people are more digital savvy by now, and the Amazon, the Netflix, and all this kind of stuff, Zoom stuff. We are digital savvy by now. It's more accepted, and everything which is contactless allows for seamless experiences. That is to say, first thing. Second thing, Lars pointed it out. They want to have flexibility, and it should be something which is paired to something which happens immediately. So in terms of transaction, you need to be strong. Your transactional skills need to be strong, and you should give the flexibility to get back if you need it. Pavel pointed this out. And we have all experienced that the magical 3S, see, sex, and sun, in the pandemic became something like safety, security, and service. Mm-hmm. And the SSS, which we have there, is one of the big issues for us as professionals, because there we all can join in and say, the services you find with us. In our programs and in our offerings, we can incorporate this. We all observed that there's remote work, there's bleisure, the blending of leisure, extensions, or even extended work stays abroad. We all see this as well. So consumer behavior changed a lot. And if we want to establish a marketing platform, we are well observed to trace all these changes, which will remain in foreseeable 5-10 years. We do have to establish this marketing platform strategy in having a close view to competition, which is existing, which is increasing in the market. It's competition, the classical one, to other destinations. Last year, Greece was more or less the only European destination, med destination, easily accessible, with the safety net clearly communicated. But now everybody's open, so competition will be stronger.
And markets as Turkey, Egypt, and Spain are coming back.
And they're all back. We have to face competition, as Lars said. Possibly there no travel is a competition. Either you want to eat meat or you want to travel. Nice example. Get your voucher and
buy what you want.
Yep. Buy what you want. And we, as I just indicated, we need to establish the link between the consumer experience which we want to provide and the competition or the opportunities which the media, the new media will allow, which the new media will give to us. So we have consumers to be analyzed, to be closely observed, serving as a platform for developing strategies and taking into account the competitive environment which is getting tough.
I know that you're not supposed to make predictions, but I will ask, what are the expectations for this year's tourism season, Pavel?
Well, it really depends on the market.
Yes, you operate in the market, you have feedback, you have your data.
Yes, if you talk about Poland, for example, and this is something which I can tell you because I know the numbers, and also I'm sure that our friends from Greece would like to know whether Greece will still be #1 as an outgoing destination, or maybe you're going to drop. So I can tell you already, you are.
I know the answer because you revealed it earlier.
I did. You will drop into #2 for some reasons. There is a big competition between destinations, as you know, but also for reasons out of control of the travel sector, of course, because we had what I would say a delay in sales of about a month because of the crisis in Ukraine, so we cannot, speed up to gain the same numbers. But the predictions for 2022, if it hadn't been for the Russian invasion in Ukraine, were that the numbers in 2022 in the outgoing sector are going to increase the record year of 2019. This is the one thing. The second thing, of course, everything is dynamic, so it really depends on what is going to happen in Ukraine and also the other factors which we have been talking about at the very beginning. So Greece will be safe if we're talking about clients from Poland.
You didn't reveal who will be in the first place. What market?
Naturally, it's going to be Turkey because there have been some changes also in the accessibility or the documentation needed. We are going now to be able to travel to Turkey on the basis of our ID card. So this is going to definitely speed up, especially that we have, I'm not sure how it is in the other countries, but we have a problem in Poland is the production of passports nowadays. Because there have, I'm not going to talk about it, but I would just like, if possible, just a short note on the previous question.
Of course.
And I would really like, especially for, I think I could be a little bit controversial here, but I would just like to show you also the perspective of Poland for very different reasons, political and also about this conflict in the Ukraine. I really think that the communication and the way the travel sector should behave in the future is to also address and to see the social, how you call it, the social role, the social function of the travel industry and of traveling. I'm not going to talk to get very deeply into it, but there are these aspects of peace, of meeting people of different cultures, different habits, etc., etc. And I think this, from a broader perspective, if we don't address it, we will have crises like in Ukraine in the future and many other countries.
Mm-hmm. So, closing our panel, I would like your predictions as well, starting from Mr. Bachmann.
100% in favor of what Pavel just expressed. If you travel, you don't shoot. That's the clear message for our industry. Entirely true. Expectations for the season 2022 from the French market, as the tourism minister pointed out, we're gonna have a really increased offering of air capacity, which will allow us, we think, to join 2019 results from the tour operator side. And the overall volume out of the French market in 2019 was 1.5 million arrivals, and out of this were 1.5 million arrivals in package travel tours organized by our members of our trade association. So we reckon that we're going to be capable to match these 2019 figures. As Pavel unluckily pointed out, the same thing will happen in France. You were number one last year. This year's number one will be more situated westbound in Europe, and it starts with an S in its name. And right, so these are the little predictions I can tell so far. Mind you, which we had Pavel pointed this out as well. We are facing a demand which is not normal. It's strong, our demand side, but it's coming in late. And it's coming in late, and you have loads of different stimulus from different destinations who are going for this late demand. So what I would want to see from Greece in the French market is give yourself the means to be present in this market, to be present in the race for late demand which comes in. Mm-hmm. So this is, and which we need to fill the airline seats, which we need to fill the hotel beds, which we had contracted over here in Greece. So give yourself, give your destination, give the Greek destinations the means to produce the volumes which we all need. And this needs market presence in a very competitive environment. Mm-hmm. Second thing is price increases go all around, certainly. Fuel pushed, hoteliers pushed, certainly as well. Watch out, as soon as the overall price for a package increases by more than 8%, the customer, once he has reserved, and you increase the price after reservation by 8%, the customer has the right to withdraw from the contract. So you may lose. If prices after all are hiking up too strong, we will lose the acquired customer and he goes somewhere else. So mind you with price increases, and mind you in terms of price increases for 2023, because this is no longer clear how 2023 will present as a market with all the insecurity economically which we are facing.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Bachmann, thank you very much. I think that we have run out of time, but Mr. Tukir, no worries, because you will be in the next panel as well.
Yeah, I'm fine. But actually, my answer was going to be very short. I'm happy that we have had two optimists here, because I don't think Europe is going to be back to 2019 levels this year. I think it's going to be 70-75% if we're lucky. But I hope I'm wrong. So
I'm glad that you were precise and short. Anyways, Mr. Bachmann, thank you very much. We will see you in panel number 3. And now we will talk about the compensation fund for customers and travel organizers. And I will ask from Mr. Frank Oostman, President of ANVR, to come and join us. And we will have Mr. Marios Kamenous, Treasurer of ECTA as well. Κάντε νόημα.
Είναι εκεί και θα...
Well, we're all vaccinated, so... Well, I will start saying that for years in several European countries there are travel guarantee funds which are used to solve problems related to businesses' viability and crisis management. So we want you to share some best practices from your countries, and can you explain to us exactly how it works and share some good practices, as I mentioned before? Mr. Oostman, I think that you...
Yeah.
I sent some slides. I can do it like this, but maybe...
Do we have the slides, please?
Just give a very brief information. But to...
I think that we...
Yes, that's
we
right.
have them. Perfect.
I hope you can read it. But first of all, if you look at ANVR and our guarantee fund, those are very strong quality, consumer quality labels. And we benefit from that. And it's also, I think, by far, and that's I'm a little bit proud to say that from a little country like that, is by far the oldest guarantee fund in the world, I think, but at least in Europe. And it's the biggest one in Holland, looking at the whole economical sector. And we paid out 50 million euros at the moment to 140,000 travelers. So it's well established, it's very well known. And if you ask me why should an entrepreneur in Holland, in my country, go for this and participate in this, then it's because it drives your conversion. It gives you lots of trust and confidence to the consumer, and it's an easy way to comply with European legislation and law. Those are three very simple reasons to participate. We have placed this because it's a consumer fund. It's not a business fund, it's a consumer fund. And we place this completely independent from our association. And that's for a good reason, because if we would get the possibility to have some influence in this guarantee fund, then commercial interests would play a role, and that would not be a very good idea. So it's completely independent. I'm in the board of commissioners, but I'm the only one, and the rest is outside the travel industry. It works very well, and with some challenges, but we will talk about that later. But from our point of view, in the past, I think it was founded in '83, so nearly 40 years. It served its needs, and it's very well functioning at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Pavel?
Well, unlike the Dutch, we introduced our travel guarantee fund only a few years ago, but this is actually something which we as the travel trade like very much. It's, as you were saying, it gives more confidence to the travelers, and also, which is extremely important, because we have this what's called a two-pillar guarantee fund, guarantee system, tour operators guarantee system. The first is the insurance bond or the bank guarantee, where all tour operators must have a compulsory level of guarantees based on a number of indicators. And so if there is an insolvency, first of all is going to be the bank guarantee or the insurance bond that will be used. Now, if there is no enough money to pay out the travelers, then it's going to be the Travel Guarantee Fund that is going to pay out. Until now, very little was paid out of the Travel Guarantee Fund. We have at the moment, 55 million euros in the Travel Guarantee Fund, and it's been working for 5 years now. We have a little problem. It's a non-travel sector guarantee fund. It actually is built within the insurance guarantee fund. We have some problems which we envisage, is the fact that actually the travel guarantee fund itself is not covered by any kind of insurance. So if there is too much outpayments, then we are in trouble. However, of course, the travel guarantee fund then could be able to take a loan out of the insurance guarantee fund, and this could be sorted out somehow. And I just would like to say that we have also, and I think we are exceptional in Europe, we have actually 3 funds. One is the travel guarantee fund, which is part of the tour operators guarantee system. The second fund is the refund fund for COVID instances. Now it's no longer in operation, but everything is set. So if there is any kind of additional problems in the future, we know all the ITs and all the procedures how to pay out. And then we have a new, it's actually my baby. During the COVID crisis, I suggested to the government that we should have an UEC fund, which is the Unexpected and Extraordinary Circumstances Fund. And we have just paid out the first, actually it's not not an outpayment, it's a loan towards the tour operator that he gets the loan to refund their clients. And we actually had the first loan given to one of the tour operators due to the Russian, I'm saying Ukrainian, but it's wrong, it's the Russian conflict.
Yeah.
So we heard about the Dutch and the Polish policies. What about your country?
I have another presentation. Could you put that on? It's not going to take you long. And while we put it on, I have to disappoint Frank by saying that ours is from 1979.
Okay.
So we're older. But it was the guarantee funds in Europe happened because back then it was Wild West. And there were a lot of people. The good thing about travel is you get the money in before people travel. So if you get a lot of money in and you're not completely honest, you might use that money for something else. And then by the time that people need to travel, you're gone. So we had to put the Travel Guarantee Fund in back in 1979 because there was a particular bankruptcy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
your slides are ready.
Yeah, there you go. So we actually also have 3 funds.
Oh.
Sorry to say that, but we have a package guarantee fund, which is, like I said, established in 1979. We have a second one, which was because we got tired of all the airlines going bankrupt. So we convinced the government to make an airline ticket guarantee fund, which is from 2015. And then we have the third fund, which is like you have as well. The extraordinary circumstances, in case something like COVID happens, you can take up loans in the fund. So right now we have about 6, by the way, it's different in Denmark, at least from a number of countries I know, because people are asking me, where are the tour operators? Well, we don't really distinguish between travel agents and tour operators anymore. So we have 600 Danish tour operators, because that's best, everybody knows what that is, but it could be a travel agent. They are all arranging their own travel. Anyway, 3 funds. One has 16 million euros in it at the moment. That's the package travel fund and linked travel arrangements. We've got 14 million in the flight only fund, and we don't have money. Well, we actually have a 200 million loan guarantee, but only have lent about 67 million euros to the travel agencies in Denmark. So this is not, I'm not going to go through this in detail, but I know that we want to discuss the package travel fund, so that's why it's been put on the slide here. But the long story short is, there's money in the bank. So over the years, we've actually paid in a lot of money, and right now, like I said, there was about 16 million euros in it. When we started the fund, every tour operator or travel agent had to pay in €7 per customer, and that way it sounds like nothing, but it builds up over the years. Right now, if we were to reintroduce it, I think it would probably be about the 270 that we had last time, but maybe a little more. And there's some trigger points where if you introduce the travel guarantee replenishing of funds, there's some numbers in there for that. And then there's also the flight-only coverage, which is important to say that we had a long discussion about that. The long story short on that one is you've got to have the consumers also think just a little when they buy an airline ticket. So giving a full coverage, we discourage that in the political discussions that we had, because if you get a 500 kroner, that's a €60 ticket, maybe there might be something wrong with that. Or if not, then you can at least afford to pay it yourself. So there's a minimum level of €133 that you have to pay yourself. That can be covered if you use a credit card in other ways. But the long story short is there's a consumer commitment and need to understand that they also have a certain amount of responsibility here. So those are the funds that we have, and then I'll leave it at that, because I'm sure we'll have some questions.
I suppose that...
The first one, sorry, let's see if I can go back.
I suppose that
That one,
those
or
data will be available via HATA, right? If
Sorry?
anyone wants to use this data, they will be
They
available.
are right now with our colleagues over there. I'm sure they're going to put it on a disk and use it for whatever they want to. At least it's not proprietary in any way, so please use it. Yeah.
Maybe just to get one more comment from my side, because I'm really jealous about the Danish developing such an airline fund. We are working on that. It's not that simple, but it's a big accomplishment that you arranged that for your country. We have also 3 funds. You call it the Calamity Fund. We have an extraordinary. We also have this fund. We call it Calamity Fund for extraordinary circumstances. And the one thing which I think is very important, that the last 20 years for our guarantee fund, we didn't charge anything to either the companies or the consumers, because the system worked by making investments. And because of COVID, we had to reintroduce a fee to consumers. So every consumer, if they book a package travel, then they have to pay €5 per booking per person for using the guarantee fund. That is really a major change because of COVID. Hopefully, we will get rid of this €5. But at the moment, our Ministry for Economic Affairs is still insisting on having this membership fee.
Just one add, because I think we have, actually interestingly enough, we have similar systems, at least in the Danish case. If all the money disappears, it's all paid out, then the state guarantees
is responsible. Yeah.
So the fund will not run out of money. The customers or consumers will get their money back. But then, of course, the industry needs to rebuild the money. But it's just to understand that there's no losses to the consumer in the system that we're talking about here. So,
Mr. Kamanas, what about the Greek reality?
Well, the Greek reality is we don't have a guarantee fund in place, unlike Denmark and the Netherlands and recently Poland. And we have seen that, especially after the revision of the last package travel directive, a lot of countries decided to make a move towards the introduction of a guarantee fund, because apparently this new revision has put a lot of, let's say, burden on the shoulders of the tour operators and travel organizers. So we have to say that nowadays travel organizers are responsible for many things, even if it's not their actual responsibility to do so, because we have some new terms like linked travel arrangements, etc. And all these affect the travel organizer's job. We as HATA, we are very, very keen to introduce a travel guarantee fund in Greece for many reasons. One of the reasons is because we think that over the next few years, insurance companies will not be able to insure travel products with these, after this new package travel directive. It will be very, very costly for them. So we suspect that there might be a problem in the insurance market. There will be no policies to cover our needs, so we need to do something about it. Of course, such a fund helps our industry. It gives us more credibility. In my opinion, the holiday travel package is the best holiday product someone could ever buy. Because it is insured, the consumer knows that they will not lose their money. So if there is a guarantee fund to, back this up, it makes the consumer feel a little bit safer, and it also helps the viability of our businesses. And I think it's a very good solution for everyone. Of course, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have a lot of solutions that are there in the market. Actually, this idea of a travel guarantee fund has been in our minds for more than 10 years, and over this really long time, we had the opportunity to digest what is happening in the other European countries. Of course, there is no need to talk about details now. But in most European countries, we see guarantee funds that are not, of course, there's the guarantee of the government, but they're not driven by the government. They're driven by the sector, and this is a model that we would like to see in our case. Of course, the governance of this fund is also very important. We would like to see a solution that will not, that this fund is not going to be managed 100% by our sector. Frank talked briefly a little bit about that, and I think that we are ready to make this step forward, not because we think that it is a nice thing to have. I think that reality is going to make it really important for us to be able to...
You have somebody that works.
Yeah, exactly. So, this is our position on that.
How feasible is it to create a European travel guarantee fund so that there is a single entrepreneurial environment for the whole of Europe? You're laughing. Why do you think that this hasn't happened so far?
You want me to answer?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm smiling. I'm not laughing, I guess, and because we've tried. We really wanted to do it. Also because those of you that know EU law, this is a maximum harmonization directive. So every EU country is supposed to have a guarantee fund. It's not something you can say maybe. Mm-hmm. It's actually required.
Obligation.
So, and actually it should be sort of the same coverage. But without going into many details on the EU side, the thing is there's so many opinions about this that I wouldn't want to, I'd love it to happen. And I can assure you from Denmark, we'd love to, I'm sure actually the Dutch would love it to have it happen as well. And I'm sure with Paul having experienced whatever, it's actually in the original planning of the directive revision for 2018 that was supposed to be a European fund, and we just couldn't agree. Because you've got to remember, somebody has got 0, others have got 110%, and somewhere in between. Mm-hmm. So I know countries in Europe where you don't, if a travel agent has provided 100 million euros in guarantee, and they go bankrupt and they have 200 million in obligation, then the traveler will only get 50%. 100 and 200%, 200 million euros. So I'm not sure what the standard is going to be, but I'd love it to be the same, but I think it's going to be difficult.
I don't think it's going to happen now.
No.
If I may say something now, when we didn't have the travel guarantee fund in Poland, and we've been talking about it for ages, as far back as I can remember, and there was no political initiative, which obviously must have been the case. We were thinking maybe Europe will help us. Yeah. But now, when we have already this in place, it will be very difficult, to sort of transfer everything into a different format from our perspective, which is already 5 years now. But what I want to say is towards our Greek colleagues, if you really have this in mind, just talk with your members and show them what are the advantages, because there are many. Of course, there needs to be paid a little amount of money for each package, but don't look at the other players if you have something like something else than Fethata, or don't listen to them, because this is actually what happened in my country. Yeah. We were almost there. We almost had this guarantee fund, but then competing, it's not really a competitor. It's a competitor that competes, saying no to everything which Pitt says. Yeah. This is the sort of competition. And they actually blocked this guarantee fund. And we had to wait about 7 or 8 years until this came into reality. And also one last thing, which is very important for business-to-business relations between tour operators and travel agents, at least in my country, and I think it's also the case in the other funds. This fund does not cover relations between tour operators or travel agents, at least in my country.
Okay, it does so in our country, but the thing is, you don't see those transactions very much in my country. But what I wanted to say is, you've got to remember the EU directive is also requiring or setting up an option that you don't have to be in your national guarantee fund, you can actually be in somebody else's guarantee fund. So that's also a good reason for having a pan-European guarantee fund, because then you can't shop around. On the other hand, trying to explain it's not 27 different countries, because not all countries have the guarantee fund, so it'd be, say, 20 plus. Explain the differences in the rules between the 20 countries. I wouldn't want to endeavor into that, because it's so difficult to understand. But you've got to realize that right now that is an option out there, supposedly because it's it's the same legislation, but it's not. So it's I'd love a European guarantee fund, but who has to give in? That's the question.
Yeah, and actually, if I just one very last comment, what you actually said is a reality, but it is at the very back of our head. I mean, if we cannot establish our own travel guarantee fund, then we'll need to seek a solution by cooperating with someone else. But I think, in my opinion, it will be a shame, to see such an opportunity being lost. I think that, among colleagues, it's very easy to sell, the idea to them, because the advantages are there. I don't think that anyone would be against it. In Greece we have, unfortunately, the ministers are not here, but we do have red tape in a few, and this is something that will delay us, I'm sure. But if we could start, the conversation running, and the good thing about our situation is that we have our European allies, within ECTA, and ECTA has really good relations with ECFAT, which is the ECTA of the guarantee funds. So the expertise is there. So it is a matter of just getting everyone together and starting some serious discussions about it.
Because don't underestimate the powerful tool you have in relation to marketing your added value. That is really, if you ask me what is the main advantage, then it's really this being a powerful marketing tool for companies who are participating in the guarantee fund. Just imagine, I am able to say to the press and to media, and I do it often, that every ANVR member, every member of my association is a guarantee fund member. So please book via, which is a powerful message. So that's the advantage of such a system.
If I may say something again.
No, I like, because we're having a discussion.
Yeah, of course.
It's not a role play.
What I want to say is, in Poland we still have the distinction between the travel agent and the tour operator. But actually what you're saying, Frank, about this marketing tool is actually what I managed myself to include in the law. Because you know what happened? When we discussed the text, we said, how will the consumer know, and how will he be able to differentiate between the covered and the non-covered travel services? And what we said is, it should be obligatory, stated in the consumer contract with a tour operator, that the sum going to the sum of €3 or whatever needs to be explicitly shown in the travel contract. And what happens now is that you really have consumers that they are asking, that checking.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Apart from the other marketing tools, the logo,
Yeah.
etc., you're fully covered, etc., etc. And this is actually extremely important.
Yeah.
During COVID, sorry, it's a nice discussion, and it's always, nice to contribute.
If I have to interrupt you, I will.
Of course. I know it's very technical, and for some people this may not be a very sexy subject to discuss about, but it is important. Especially during COVID-19, I saw that countries where a guarantee fund was in place, their job vis-a-vis the consumer was much easier. In our country, the government had to introduce a piece of legislation that allowed travel organizers to issue vouchers, and those vouchers had an 18-month period over which after which they should have been repaid, and of course now they have been extended until the end of June. But this was a piece of legislation that was in breach of the EU legislation and the package travel directive. And I don't know if you gentlemen remember Mr. Renders, the commissioner in Brussels when we had the semi-annual meeting. I can tell you that the future does not look really bright, and in terms of relations with the consumers. Travel companies, should their travel guarantee fund have been in place, would have been, let's say, more clear towards the consumer, because then the guarantee fund would be able to get some finance. I believe that the Danish fund and the Dutch fund received finance, from these COVID-19 frameworks, and this helped those funds in order to repay consumers. And in our case, this was not there, and we still have quite a few vouchers that will have to be repaid after the end of June. And things would have been much easier for us if a guarantee fund was there in place. And through this guarantee fund, of course, I agree when you talked about the marketing potential. I think that the HATA label should become, stronger and more visible to the Greek consumer. And definitely, Travel Guarantee Fund is a way to achieve that.
Since the beginning, we mentioned the energy crisis. So I would like to ask you, how much does the final cost of travel packages rise due to the increase in aviation fuel prices, and how do you expect to cope with this new challenge?
That's difficult. You can't. There is no yes, and there is a very diversified answer only possible, because it depends on the strategy of airlines. Have they hedged their oil prices? It depends on destinations. But in general, one could say that, but we are going to discuss this in the next panel, that in the future traveling will be more expensive. But also in the near future, I expect, because of energy prices, airline prices will rise. So also travel packages will rise in price.
From my perspective, of course, we are analyzing the prices of current packages being sold. You have to remember one thing, is that the airlines, in their contracts with tour operators, they are using I'm not sure what it's called, but it's a certain amount, it's a certain price of petrol based on the exchange stock, and this actually goes. The final payment, it goes according to future amounts of the future price of petrol. So, for example, for flights that were operated in March, it is actually the price of fuel for April, at least in my market. I think it's mostly the case in other markets as well. So we already know how much tour operators had to pay for the contracted operations. Unfortunately, it is around 30% more than what they had in mind. Well, not what they contracted, because they contracted according to the future price, but what they actually calculated in their travel packages. So it is the price of the fuel is about 30%. Now, we in Poland have our own national currency, so like Denmark, for example. So then we also have the exchange rate problems. So if we're talking about the whole increase in prices, currently it's about 20%, unfortunately. So this is also this will also impact the volume of travelers going out from Poland.
Mm-hmm. So, to sum up, Mr. Kamenos, what is the main message you would like the Greek travel trade to keep from this panel?
That we need the travel guarantee funds.
Apart from
Simple as
that.
that.
Very
It's
easy.
as simple as that. This is very simple and short.
Yeah.
No, I think that everyone can understand, the advantages and the few disadvantages that might, be there. I'm sure that there could be ways in order to tackle them successfully. We have seen the benefit of this fund, in all other European countries, and if we want our sector to go forward, then I think that it is a necessity. It's not just an option. It is a necessity. And of course, we have all the help from all our European colleagues in order to be able to come up with a solution which is going to be fit, for the Greek circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Kamenos and Mr. Tukir, thank you so much, and Pavel. My God, I cannot remember the word. I promise that next time I will pronounce your surname correctly, because it's too difficult.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. So, and now we continue with our third panel. We will talk.
Off you go.
I think everybody's tired at the moment. Please have 15 minutes break for a coffee in the lobby.
Like a picture together.
Oh.
Whatever you like.
Thank you very much, Maria.
Thank you very much,
It was
Pavel. Okay, I think we are ready for our last panel. We will talk about sustainable tourism and responsible travel. We have here with us Mr. Eric Dressan, Secretary General at ECTA.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And of course, Mr. Bachmann and Mr. Oostdam, who were here earlier in panels 1 and 2. So my first question, sustainability and digital transformation are two main pillars of touristic growth. Do you think that industry professionals have understood the importance of these parameters, of these factors? Are the investments in this direction satisfactory?
It's large questions, but they're very, very timely questions because we see with the restart of tourism and travel that sustainability is at the core of the attention of the industry. Of course, many companies are focusing on surviving and trying to come over the difficult times. However, there is no escape from any countries, because I look at that at a European dimension. In many countries, you have a debate and an actions that are taken on sustainability. Just to give you an example, we started 6 months ago European project with different partners called Sustour, and we were looking for SMEs to support them in promoting sustainability. The target was to have minimum for the European Commission, because it's a European project, 175, and we have more than 400 European tour operators or travel agents in Europe that want to be part of the project. So you see that this issue is definitely a top priority and that it's moving on. On the investment part, there's a lot to be done, for sure, but it's more about destinations, I suppose, that the question should be raised to. On the other hand, we see that the issue of sustainability will be a marketing argument for destination. Mm-hmm. So if you are not investing, if you are not making any efforts, then you will lose traction and attention. Plus, for some places, maybe not in Europe, but for some places, climate change is a real issue. So investing in mitigating initiatives will be important for their survival, mm-hmm. Simply as that.
You mentioned that there is a lot to be done, but as far as France is concerned, do we have data for sustainability investments?
It's very difficult to find right now. Companies are quite cautious in delivering data there, but we were just discussing with the colleagues. A few years ago, it would have been a non-topic that would have been there. Today, companies talk about sustainability. Then it's what are we doing, what can we do better, and not in 10 years' time. But
so you see a change in the mentality?
Definitely a change in mentality in the industry.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Bachmann?
Frank, I guess you have the best practices in Holland.
Yeah, we have, but I think to answer your question, and just for the sake of discussion, I think we have I love this industry. Don't interpret me wrong, but I think we have a too limited perspective on our industry as travel industry. And if you look, and especially if you look at the increasing responsibilities, if you look at being transparent, we are really at an infant stage. And so do we know that it's important? Yes. But do we act according to it? I don't think so. And I really think that comparing to lots of other sectors, we are way behind. Mm-hmm. And if you talk about a credible travel industry, also a credible destination, then we really should do more. Because just maybe that's a high overthought, but that's the way I look at it. We are experts in in delivering once-in-a-lifetime experiences. We talked a lot about experiences this afternoon, but during COVID, this experience has broadened. It's not only an experience looking at the product we have and the service we deliver, but also new things like hygiene, safety, trust. All these things are coming to be part of the overall experience, but more importantly also the credibility we have looking at the impact we have on a destination and the impact our activities have at the destination, and being honest and transparent about it. We can learn a lot about from other sectors, and if we don't act, then others will interfere, like governments with regulations, and so we have lots of challenges. And indeed, because we Dutch people are very practical people, so we just started with some very practical projects, but that doesn't mean that we are really at a very infant stage.
Mm-hmm. I heard the opinion of the Dutch. I want the opinion of the German as well.
I can't
because you're practical too.
From the French market, I can't really speak for the German market. For the French market, we got inspiration from our Dutch colleagues. Frank stressed the transparency which our industry needs to provide to the consumers, even more after COVID.
Yes.
Even more to the younger people. So transparency, one of the elements is, what is our carbon footprint? Mm-hmm. And as long as we are unable to provide information on this, there's no credibility at all. So we were informed that our Dutch colleagues, they put in place a carbon footprint calculator, Kamercal, so that's my publicity for my colleagues in the Netherlands. And we invited them in order to inspire our industry, to inspire our government, in order to get something going on. So we are trying to establish, together with the government, a kind of carbon footprint calculator, which is difficult. We have 5 different calculations for carbon footprints for a Paris-New York flight, which obviously is a nuisance. So we need to work on this. This is ongoing work. We have by no means arrived yet, but there are good practices out there, and there's a lot of work in front of us.
Mm-hmm. Since you referred to the carbon footprint, I would also like your comment on flying and going on holiday by plane.
Very good question.
If it's ethical or not.
Very good question. So this is the second publicity page, which I'm opening up. This was just a joke. This is an important question. And in France, we do have regulation, voted laws, which impose for short-haul flights an interdiction as soon as there is a compatible train offering in place. So flying is no longer I don't think about it, I just take the airplane and I fly from Paris to Bordeaux. No, they want the short-haul flights to be replaced by train, and we have existing law on it. So this is no longer a metaphysic discussion, it's a real discussion. What we need to do as an industry, and what we try to do in France, and we just announced this last couple of weeks ago, 1st of April, and this was no joke. We want to help our members, the travel trade, to be able to absorb the CO2 emission of a given product, which implies that we can measure what this CO2 emission is, to compensate, to absorb this CO2 emission, and we are creating a fund for this. Okay, which is helping, which is fueled by customers paying in order to entitle our members to participate in initiatives who are reforesting buying trees and absorbing CO2 emissions. Mm-hmm. So we need to act, on this. So the state pushes us to act. We try to build solutions to help our members. And last but not least, and I come back to Eric, the financial markets, finally, they are helping us as well. At least large-scale operators, they are under the obligation already since quite a long time to publish sustainability index, sustainability results in their yearly reporting, annual reporting, for which pushes them to ask for sustainability information once they produce and try to put in place their policies. So we are pushed by the government, we are operating ourselves, and we get help from outside.
Yes, but according to what you said, this means that the government should invest more in infrastructures, because not in every country as France we have advanced networks, train networks.
Yeah, for sure. But it's not only in the infrastructure. It will come back to our industry. We need to sell also other means of transport, and that's the challenge. If we want to go to the Greek islands, how do we, as travel agents in France, in the Netherlands, to organize and to make it to make this solution available in large scale, not only for one or two clients, for different customers. That this is one option. The second problem is when you go from Netherlands to Bulgaria. You're very popular, Frank, today. From Netherlands to Bulgaria, how many countries do you travel? Do you cross? In a plane, you just have one flight. If you want to, for instance, promote trains, how do we organize, coordinate the selling, the information, the after sale, and so on and so forth for the clientele. So it means that member states, so governments, but also European institutions, have to think about sustainability not only as an infrastructure issue, but also as a wider concept in which they have many input to make, and there's a lot of improvement there.
So once again, the professionals have to rewrite the communication strategy they use to their clients.
For sure.
Well, and not only communication strategies, but if talking about flying, I'm a firm believer of the principle of true pricing, which for me, and looking at the discussion at least in Holland and Northern Europe, there is a big opposition at the moment, or big talks and discussions about flying and being ethical, and I think that flying is too cheap. And we as travel industries, talking about being transparent and open, we should say that. Traveling is too cheap. If you look at true pricing, then all the environmental effects of traveling, mobility, should be in the price of a product. And there was a research done in the Netherlands a year ago, and they calculated how much extra the price would be. And for each kilometer traveled, there should be added 3 to 4 cents for these environmental effects, meaning that a trip by plane from Amsterdam to Prague would cost 30 euros more, and from Amsterdam to New York could cost 200 euros more. And as long as we are not doing that, and airlines should also be more proactive to do that, then we have a serious problem if you look at credibility of tourism.
Fully agree. And just to give you an example, I just take my miles and more count this morning. For the last flights, I could offset directly for only 2 segments, 160 euros. So it was a European flight. It's not exotic to Japan. So 160 euros I could pay. But why is the flight cheaper if I have to pay afterwards? If I am willing to pay afterwards? In order to have responsible behavior. So the information is completely contradictory, and it's not easy to explain then to the customers that it's not the real price. Obviously, we need to clarify that.
I suppose that in not far future, we're going to have our national legislator in France and or the European legislator who will establish once and for all a price per ton CO2, which is linked to transport. So we will have to integrate today's external costs. And this will increase our price level, surely.
I see your perspective, but don't you think this is a risk? Because many people, as far as the long destinations are concerned, many people might not like to travel by boat, by train.
I don't think it's a question of risk. It's a question of the future of traveling. So we have to comply with Paris agreements. We have to comply with all the things said over there, which means that also a very big sector like the tourism sector, which we are the biggest sector in the world, well, there are responsibilities connected with that. And so we have to comply with that. And,
comply and find our proper solutions.
Yes, yeah,
we
of
need
course.
to offer solutions.
Yeah.
So what are the consequences the past 2 COVID years have left in sustainable tourism, and how the new reality increases the responsibilities of travel companies? If we could have a conclusion. Mr. Bachmann?
Conclusion, Eric?
Could you repeat the question? Because
what are the consequences of the pandemic during the last 2 years in the sustainable tourism, not in tourism in general, and how the new reality increases the responsibilities for travel companies? How are you supposed to react in this new reality?
I would dissociate the two aspects. If you remember, in 2020, at the first lockdown, we said the future will not be the same. People will act differently because they see that the life can be completely different. What do we see today? The world is exactly the same. The same traffic jams. You know, people won't be stupid as they were in the past. They will never accept anymore to be 2 hours in a traffic jam. I'm taking my car. I'm in the stupid guy sitting 2 hours in a traffic jam. The COVID in itself is maybe like a loss of time. On the other hand, we have the opportunity. It's creating a sort of white page where we have the possibility to think we can change things. We are not in a system which we perpetuating the same behaviors. It was like a window of opportunities, which has not materialized completely in a change of behaviors of solutions, but it changed the ideas of people. This can happen. The world can stop. And I think that it makes it more acceptable to think, yes, we can change the industry in something more sustainable. And hence, now the traction this concept has in many discussions, in many activities, and hopefully in the legislation. You were mentioning, very briefly, initiative of Carmichael and what you are doing, but it's the same in Germany. It's the same in Skyscanner, in OTAs, for instance. So there's a lot of things happening there. And CO2 emission calculators is a key element, and we need absolutely to have an harmonized and credible solution for everyone. But you see that there is movement, and that's maybe what the COVID helped to do. People accepted that things could be changed.
Mr. Roosdam?
Well, I listened very carefully to the lady of this GNTO. Which was in line with things I believe in, which is that we are really in a transit. It's the most important challenge, and we are in a kind of a transition phase at the moment, hopefully reaching to a level that we can think of a new mindset of tourism, where everybody profits, not only the holidaymaker, the tourist, and not only the travel company, but also destinations and people living in the destinations. And That is the new kind of tourism I believe in, and that's the tourism which is credible enough to be sustainable for the future, which is a very, very big challenge, I must say, but also very interesting to be part of.
Eric, he wasn't here at the very beginning where the official
yes,
delegation presented the greetings to this meeting and where they addressed, each of them, sustainable issues. This was good news, and you can be proud of your country, of your destination.
It's very high in our agenda.
That you have a mindset driven by sustainability. So this is good news. And destinations, may it be Greece, may it be Spain, and other destinations, are driving tour operators, driving travel agencies in the source markets to, the hoteliers and all their initiatives to take up this issue as well. So it's coming from the destinations into the source markets. The consumer, they read about it in the media. It's an overall process, and it's up to us to take all these different stimulus, and the financial markets are demanding information from us as well. We have to take all these stimulus in order to build an action plan to transform, to participate in the transformation of our industry. That's a big challenge from now to 2050.
According to surveys, travelers are willing to pay more money to visit hotels and destinations that allow them to be more connected with nature. Is that true?
I think it is. There is still a conflict between citizens' opinion and consumer behavior. So hopefully the gap will narrow. I was reading an article from the French press telling that the new generation, so the Generation Z, was, as regards flights, but was ready to pay more for sustainable flights, even more than the previous generations. Yet, so very good news, yet they were the one looking at price as the main indicator for traveling. So I think it's like our industry is moving on. The consumers are also moving on in this direction. We need to see the speed of the evolution.
I fully agree. We call it the value action gap, between the difference between being consumer and being citizen in the voting ballot, and then thinking that it's very interesting and very important to be sustainable, but for my neighbor during a holiday. That's what we think. So we have. I'm a little bit pessimistic about consumers asking for sustainable traveling. And I'm also a little bit pessimistic, but I'm really very confident and really want to be part of that also the big change will come from companies. Because there's so much competition in this sector. So we need
you have to educate.
We have to there has to be a little bit more directive government, I think.
But it's where, to rebound to what you said, it's about transparency also. I mean, it's the role of our industry. In the economy, there is the demand, the offer, but sometimes the demand is created by the offer. It's Galbraith. Exactly. So it's up to us to. It's easy to say, difficult to make. I'm very I'm aware of that. But it's our industry that also can help the consumer by different means, legislation, transparency, communication, and so on and so forth, to go into more sustainable options than in the past.
And I was very interested in, and I was really happy that the speakers did it in English, so I could understand. Yeah. But because it was typical about the way we think at the moment, it's all about more, marketing, more. And we need more, because we had 2 years of COVID and our industry needs more tourists traveling. But how do we manage that? That's the challenge we have. It's not about marketing. We are experts in marketing. Nobody can tell us anything. We know how we market destinations, and you know especially. But how do we manage that?
And we have to take into consideration that the tourists have become more demanding, even more demanding. Their profile has changed due to the pandemic. They are searching for other things. Yeah. They put very high in their agenda the hygiene things, safety.
They are, but we talked about the trends, and I must say Lars also did that. We see more connected, more empowered consumers because of COVID, and we have to deal with that. And I hope also more aware consumers, especially the young people. They are really aware of the things they do. And so looking at the future, we need to have some kind of sustainable strategy to be credible in the future also.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Bachmann, anything to add?
I guess we do have a very critical phase from here to 2030, where we don't have, in terms of air transportation, any real alternative So there we need to rely on price stimulus and or regulation. Then afterwards, we need to find, or we will find, I'm confident in this kind of solution. We will find alternative means of air transport, which will us allow to match the net zero objective as fixed for 2050. So we know how the way is structured, and we just need to put
buy some time.
We need to combine all the efforts of all the different components, destinations, tour operators in the source markets, state, stock market, whatever it takes. We need to combine this different interest and to create solutions in order to buy time, in order to bridge time and then to go to something else. So the road before us is designed. Now we need to work in building the bridges.
Mm-hmm. I have 2 more questions that they don't have to do with sustainability, but I will ask them.
If I'm allowed, before
if I say no?
No. I will insist, if I'm allowed,
you are, of course,
to make a comment about this sustainability, because as you know that I'm getting involved for many years. What I believe that, unfortunately, in the next 5 years at least, we will not face a lot of trouble trying to implement, or at least having the chance to implement, sustainable methods. The reason is that because we will have energy crisis, and the energy crisis will increase prices. And since their prices will be increased, we have to, not only as industry, but as nations and as European community, to find solutions covering this crisis. The problem is not only to be sustainable, the crisis itself will make create the necessity of being and remain sustainable. This is just a small note in our conclusion.
Yeah. Does anyone want to comment on that?
No, I think it's true. We see in many places, and for instance, Greece, where we were discussing previously with the mayor of Astypalia, where they switched completely. They get rid of fossil fuel, but having, let's say, a different source of energy, green energy, but only for the use, not producing for, selling or exporting. It's obviously one of the many routes we have to take, and fully agree. And it's already, I think, on track.
And he will have a lower impact on his islands.
And he will be able to promote the island as a sustainable destination, and it will be a sustainable destination.
Yes, of course. Just take the microphone, please.
Sustainability. It's a very interesting and big topic, but I think we should not focus only on the CO2. I mean, there is a number of policies that Europeans must take. For example, we have the big problem that it connects with sustainability of over-tourism. Yes, in Santorini, Mykonos, in Barcelona. So what is one policy that Europe should have taken many, many years ago? It's the golden weeks, like in China. Try to spread the people. Why all the factories are closing in August, in Italy and in France? Why we don't spread the people around, yes? Why the governments do not put some barriers in hotel building beds? There are many big, difficult decisions to be made. So I don't think it will be a very easy task. It's not only the CO2, which, like Nico says, this will go.
Fully agree.
But there is a series of policies that needs guts to be made. And I don't think that politicians are ready to do that. And on the other hand, there is a saying in Greek, you don't take your fingers to take out your eyes. So let's not make really big changes in the travel industry in Europe, and this sustainability-wise, yes? And this will not be followed in other continents. And suddenly we see our product going down. And other continents, other countries don't follow it. You know? And we create an unfair competition for ourselves. So it's a really, really, as you say, big matter.
It's a big matter.
It needs a lot of policy, a lot of work, which does not depend on us, really.
No.
And I will not agree with you. You said that we have not made steps in the industry. We have Euro 6, Euro 7 buses changed in Europe, yes? Green key hotels. All of these things, the industry is making their steps and is taking it. So
I think they said that there is more to be done.
Yeah, there
Not
is.
that we haven't done steps at all.
You're fully right, and thank you also for addressing this point
Thank
of
you.
over-tourism. But you're fully right. There are, luckily, there are initiatives that are driving the industry, but not enough. But talking about your example about over-tourism, I think that's the essence of the situation we are in right now, and that's the challenge we are in. Look at Venice, if you look at over-tourism. And the problem is that too many people live from Venice, but they don't live in Venice. And that's, I think, the essence, that we have to take care of the destinations where we send people to. In fact, we don't have any cradle-to-cradle approach. We send our tourists to Greece, we let them consume the destination, and we take them back. But what happens to the destination? So if you talk about tour pricing, and if you talk about full costs of tourism, then from the perspective of travel companies, also, for instance, the cost of partly the infrastructure in Athens or in Greece should also be part of the price we charge our customers. I think that's the way, the future, we would have to, well, envisage the strategy of tourism in the future. That's what I call full pricing. And that means that traveling will be more expensive, but
I
that's
think
the
that you should
consequence.
have made that statement while the politicians were here. So
You won't help a lot.
yes, but you would have done it, you know. They will keep the message. So, what are the priorities you have set in the organizations you operate, starting from you, Eric?
I think what is important is to make clear at EU level that there are initiatives at national level or even local level as regards sustainability. That's the first thing. And deliver this message. The second is to share information. The SIS2 project, for instance, where we have, I don't know by heart, but more than 10 or 12 countries involved. And you see that not all of a sudden, because there's a lot of effort, but 400 companies want to be part of that in different countries. Shows that things, communicating, organizing things is also important. The other aspect, in my opinion, that our organization should do is also to try to show that sustainability, or remind sustainability is a concept with 3 pillars we were just mentioned. So you have the environmental pillar, you have the economic pillar. Our industry has to remain competitive, and we need to keep the jobs. But it's also the social aspect. Flying over Greece before landing, I'm just looking at the islands. If there is no tourism, what is the perspective to keep people living at this place? And you cannot abandon the whole country. So it's again very complex issue, and we as ECTA try to combine these different levels in order to put sustainability forward.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Rostam?
2 things. One is we always talk about negative impacts of tourism, but we should not forget what is the positive impact of tourism. And there are lots of positive impacts, and we should stress these points also. It's also part of sustainability. And the second thing is, I have the pleasure of talking a lot about these kind of topics, and I really like that. But I often get the comment from, we have a lot of small and medium-sized companies, and they all say, well, interesting, and we should do something about sustainability, but how can I do something about it being a very small company? And then I maybe, putting it in the Greek context, I always ask the question, how do you eat your souvlaki? You start, you just bit by bit, bite by bite, you start and do something. And that's what we did
I think that this was not a good example.
Okay.
Because each and every one of us are hungry right now.
Okay. No, but that's the essence of being part of the solution and instead of being part of the problem. We just started in your own company, training people, training guides we have in our companies. Just start and do something.
Mm-hmm.
It's very positive to start.
Mr. Bachmann, your priorities?
In France, we have a three-tier approach. We inform our members, we organize competencies, we try to build up skills, and we have a dedicated pole of competence for sustainability. Secondly, we try to network. This is why the Susto project for us is something important. Network with, which is launching the third element, offers or makes accessible concrete solutions, actions, which the members can take. And once again, this is why we network within the Susto project, because this is a concrete solution for small and medium-sized companies. As we said, we are offering this fund for CO2 absorption, compensation. We are not as good in our member solutions as our Dutch colleagues are, but as Frank said, we need to start somewhere, so we inform, we network, and we organize solutions.
Mm-hmm. And one final question that, as I said before, doesn't have to do with sustainability, but we see it in the market happening right now. Globally, the gap of human resources in the hospitality industry reaches 20 to 25%. What about tour operators and travel agents? Because in the entrepreneurial field, I hear all the time the entrepreneurs complain that they don't find talented people.
How much time do we have?
Just 5 minutes.
I mean, it's another. I mean, we could have a seminar on this topic because it's an issue everywhere in Europe. Everywhere in Europe. With the COVID, it was maybe already an issue before, but it has been reinforced by COVID. You have to lay off staff. You get the people who left are sometimes the one very competent, and they deserve a stable situation. So they want to go to a place where they can find a nice job, 9 to 5, well paid. And they are not coming back to the industry because if there's another pandemic, they again will have to lose their job. So and recruiting new staff is a challenge, and to get the competence available, you see that on
and waste of money at the same time.
And that's the other issue. So it's clearly an issue. I'll stop here, but it's it's a real problem.
Oh yeah, a big.
So you face it too in your industry.
Yeah.
To elaborate on what you said, a big problem. But the thing is, what I also see in my country, if I talk to travel agents, because we have to pay more. We have to take this. We have to be convinced about our added value as travel agents and ask the money to do that. So we have lots of travel agents. They are afraid of asking customers more money for their advice. Because they say, well, the customer is not going to ask that. And we need to have more money for the services we do as travel agents in order to pay the good salary. And also that is part of sustainability. Not only CO2, not only over-tourism, but also having a good social policy and having the right people against a reasonably good salary. Mm-hmm. It's part of the deal.
And concluding with you, Mr. Bachmann.
Big subject as well, just to illustrate this.
Next time, I think that Mr. Kelaididis will organize more and more events
Human resource
here in
management,
Greece.
This is not the French market, that's the British market. But I wasn't smiling, but I was rather terrified. You may have read that EasyJet,
the last 3 seats.
They put off the last number, the six seats, the last range of seats, because they simply don't have as much staff to cater for these seats. You had TUI Fly, who said, we don't have the staff to serve you drinks or food on the flight. Then they went back to this 2 days afterwards, but this has been announced by a company. So, I mean...
They don't have the staff because they cannot attract new
they
comers, or because they don't pay for them?
They don't have the staff. I don't know why. They don't have the staff to organize food delivery on a flight. Then they went back. So just to close this parenthesis, these examples from the English market, in France we have the same problem. Obviously you need to pay better. So the professionals in France, hotel, everybody are agreed to renegotiate the national convention for the salaries of staff. Quite important hikes, over 10%, 20% even in the hotel industry, because we weren't paying. So we need to pay more, clear net. And then obviously this will degrade profitability of the company, so we need to find solutions to compensate for this. Here we are with the price level and so on. Okay, fine. A big problem. Skilling is something important. We observe that the necessary IT skills which we need in order to do the digital transformation in our industry, they're very hard to achieve, very hard to recruit. We have the tech industry paying higher salaries, offering another work environment. There are no longer any perks in the travel industry. Fam trips are rare, and free tickets are no longer available as we had in our young days. So we have difficult to recruit crucial skills in IT, which is a real issue. So we work together with the hotel schools, with the tourism schools, in order to make the curriculums more attractive.
Okay, and we'll finish with
that. Funny story, because you mentioned fam trips and study trips. We had this very big campaign in Holland before COVID, because we needed IT people. And where do we get them from? And we had this campaign, and we said, okay, well, we don't have a lot of salary, but we have fam trips, study trips. But what they said to us, they said, we are not interested in study trips and fam trips. We want to have a dark room with a PC. That's the only thing we need. So we need more salary. Talking about new people we are getting, and thinking in old structures, thinking that study trips and fam trips will convince people, the right people, to work in our industry. It's not anymore.
And in order to respond to this, the companies now, I guess in all European countries, they are more open, or they're opening up to everything which is remote travel, which is people ask for this. So we are giving this possibility to the salaries, to the staff, which in former times we had, before COVID times, we didn't do.
Mm-hmm. I would like to thank you all for your participation here, and I hope to see you again as tourists, since we talk about the travel market. I don't know if Mr. Kelaididis has to say anything else. Thank you very much. Σας ευχαριστούμε πολύ για την υπομονή σας. Καλά απόγευμα σε όλους.
you.